That's a problem a lot of vets have, is the same kind of thing, and it doesn't get talked about. And that's one of the points of us doing this video. And if you guys appreciate this content, let us know, and we'll start doing this maybe on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
But we would like to help more vets actually recover instead of being products of the system and going down the hole we've seen so many friends lose themselves into.
Yeah. The biggest thing that, like we were saying earlier, is that they don't tell you about the breakdown of your body as you go through these stressful moments. You know, they just try to throw a medication at it. Well, there are so many things that can happen from combat stress, not only military stress, being an NCO, being a leader, like you are constantly under scrutiny, and that can do something to somebody's brain to a point where they're not only losing themselves, but they're losing touch with reality.
Right.
And, when you come out of all of that and now nobody's telling you what to do, where do you go? Right. And luckily, like, I have my friend here, who has helped me in drastic ways. I've helped him. You got to lean on those friends you got that are vets as well, that have done it already. And if you're not quite sure where to go for that, there's plenty of outreach out there now to be able to get a hold of healthy veterans that have gone through these kinds of scenarios. There are outreach groups, there's our therapy groups. You need to start somewhere. Whether that be a blood test, whether that be getting therapy first, or whether it be just saying, hey, I have an issue and I'm not sure what's going on.
Right.
And that's why I stress the blood test thing so much. They threw medication at me before they ever took my blood.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy if you think about it. They didn't really say, okay, well, let's get a baseline of what's going on with this guy. They just said, nope, here's some antipsychotics, here's painkillers, have fun.
Right.
Okay, well, what if I wake up in Walmart? And the craziest part is that there are natural paths now, and we have so many more remedies, not only within the fitness world, but being healthy in general creates a positive mindset.
Right.
Like going on to TRT, like, it is a proven fact that being on testosterone makes hard work feel good.
Right.
So, going from all this stress to not having to work, to questioning your daily routines, to questioning why you're here, why am I out, where's the camaraderie? Well, it's all there still. You just have to know the paths.
Right.
And that's why we want to start talking about this stuff. I've personally witnessed two of my friends commit suicide prior to leaving the military. And, they had come back from very severe deployments, like, we're talking extreme combat stress, Sadr City, Baghdad, and all of a sudden, we're looking at guys that really can't handle regular life, but they're putting up this wall as if they can, because all of a sudden, they have to go back to that 9-to-5 military role. And some guys break while they're in, some guys break while they're out. Mm-hmm. And I really hope that in the people that we can reach with this, that they can understand that, there is hope, there is a solution, there is a process you can take, and it's really scary to think that, the people that are supposed to be helping us are also responsible for most of the deaths.
Right.
And that's what freaks us all out now. Just because you've been a doctor for 60 years doesn't mean you're modernly taught. And that's one of the scariest things I had to deal with is, when I first saw a doctor, and I got my diagnoses with TRT issues, mental disorders, those types of things. His first solution was, well, we're going to get you to a psychiatrist and get you medicated.
Right. And that's really just a temporary Band-Aid, because all of those psych meds have long-term potential side effects that are horrible, even worse than the symptoms you were experiencing in the first place.
Yeah, they alter brain chemistry. That's
right.
What these medications do. And if you are on them long enough, it is a permanent factor.
Right.
There are points where you can't come back from those things. Mm-hmm. So for me and Brian here, we both want to see guys taking a more natural path, a healthier path, through diet, exercise, mm-hmm. outreach, those are huge things. Of course, who am I to tell you if you do or don't need a medication, but the whole goal is to not put you on 16 of them.
Right. Well, and the goal is ultimately to heal yourself too. And I was on psych meds for a couple of years. I was able to wean off of those once I learned the proper supplements to take to support healthy brain function. So I have a small stack of supplements that I use every morning for brain function that's replaced the psych meds. And now I feel much better mentally on a regular basis. You know, the psych meds really just flatlined me mentally. And what I take now, I have my ups and my downs for sure, but it's on a much more positive level than it was with the psych meds. This is actually, that medication is actually something prescribed over in Europe, and specifically to heal somebody from a concussion or, you know, other brain trauma. And it's not something that's really used in the United States because, once again, we're in a culture that's not designed to heal people.
Yeah. And, you know, like, again, the American way of going about these things these days is just, unfortunately, a really sad one.
Right.
You know, there's so much influence from the pharmaceutical market in our health markets now that it's hard to really see through those lines of like, what is healthy for me?
Mhm.
And, you know, the baseline should be get healthy, get into a good diet, get into a good routine, and start figuring out your baselines within your blood, because
Right.
there's a lot of outreach for guys like us. And I'd like to see a much healthier process. We lose 7 out of 10, you know, soldiers like within a month that literally process out of the military to suicide, to alcoholism, to drug addiction.
Right.
I mean, it's just insanity, because no matter what you do, if you were a combat veteran or even a veteran that worked in the motor pool, some of that stress is going to alter you as a person. Long-term exposure to these things will change your brain.
And almost every single combat vet has a testosterone level that is completely in the garbage. And so that's the first thing I would encourage guys to test and fix if you're coming out of the military.